Well, how about that?
I was just absorbing the video.
It's a good video.
It is a good video. I was just informed that it tells a story. So when we close today, you'll get to see it again. And it's tucked in there at the beginning is the birth narrative. There's Bethlehem and
There's
the
a little
star,
Bethlehem.
and
Yeah.
then we move all the way to the cross. I just thought it was a mistake. It's never a mistake. I was just told it was never a mistake.
Never.
The mistake is me. I'm the mistake. I'm the one who doesn't get it.
Now you got it.
Yeah, I'm thick.
Yeah.
What can I say? you
Well,
know?
well.
I think I'm having allergies, by the way. I brought this in just in case.
Yeah, that's pleasant.
My nose is, no, it's
Yeah.
clean, just
Yeah.
FYI.
Okay.
My nose has been
It looks
running.
clean.
Yeah, it, does, it looks a little beat up. It was in my pocket. But yeah, I haven't had allergies down here since I moved, but it feels like allergies.
Yes.
I used to get
Yeah.
allergies in the Midwest in the fall until the first frost, and this feels
There's
a
a
lot
lot
like
of
that.
stuff in the air.
Yeah.
Just in general.
So I'm wondering if I've developed an allergy to something.
There's a lot of new things too. People have brought in a lot more.
Invasive
Plants.
species.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Take those Midwestern plants out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get something where it's like maybe a day or two where it's just like feels like
Yeah,
the
I'm
nose is
sniffly.
itching.
Yeah.
And then then it
But
goes.
no other
Then it's
symptoms.
like some,
I mean,
some
it's just
pollen.
that. Yeah, I think so. I'm wondering because this is the time of year when things start to germinate, I guess.
I think this is the time of
I
year.
used to get that.
Yeah.
We like our windows open, so we'd get that green, dusty film
Mm-hmm.
on stuff close to our windows. Like whatever that is just pollen.
Yes. Yes.
So
Comes in and it's everywhere.
yeah, but I will say though that the last 3 days, including today, I have had to fire up the central air conditioning unit at home.
We are getting to that time of year.
Are
aren't we?
you? Do you guys tough it out until the very
We
end?
have not yet. It's windows open in the
Yeah.
mornings, then close everything up,
Yeah, that's kind
and
of
then
AC
and then,
for-
and then we haven't turned on the AC yet.
Oh, really?
And so it's just like, yeah, you can come back.
I
and-
get to 78 in the house and I'm done. I'm like, anything above 78, I'm closing the windows and flipping the switch. However, though, when you get to, like, we go to bed about 10:30 at night, and we get to 10:30, if I see that the temperature outside is below 75, we
Well, then,
turn
yeah,
everything off
then
and
it's-
open the windows again,
then it's
right?
time to open the
but,
windows up.
But the last 3 days during the day, we've had the AC on.
Yeah. And it's all tuned up. It's all working.
Well, it isn't tuned up. I still need the summer checkup. When
Summer
they
checkup.
come up and take a look at everything.
Yes.
But I fired it up from not having it on. Everything seems to be working. But yes, sometime between now and May, the
Things
company
really
will come
start
out.
to,
They'll
to
come
warm
out
up a little bit.
and they'll take a look at it. But they told me they're like, so here's take this for this is your handyman tip for the
Yes.
day, is they said you really don't want us to come out until it's regularly 90 degrees outside because it's hard to get an optimal reading on everything while it's still in the 70s or low 80s outside. You really want a nice warm day when they come out to make sure, Freon or refrigerant and all those things are running at the level of a summer day. So they actually told me, yeah, don't have us out until it's hotter because we get better readings on our equipment to be able to tell.
Okay.
So I wait till it's warmer
Yeah.
and not summer, but when we get into May, then I'll have them come out and
Well,
take
at
a
least
look.
it's it's running.
It is.
So
It
that's
is.
that's one of the big
And
ones.
my unit's
right?
only 4 years old or so, so it's
Right.
knock
right.
on leather. It should just fire up when you
It should.
when you ask
it should,
it to.
and it's doing its thing. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
it'd be worth us just testing it, making sure we've got all the equipment is running.
Yes.
So-
Yes, and of course, here in this building, since we don't have any windows in this church that you can open. We have no windows that can open in this church. Think about it,
Okay.
right?
I think you're right.
So, and it's not really safe to prop the doors open. So
No.
So, the air conditioning runs a little bit more here because we don't have a way to cycle air.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The air's got to keep moving, and it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. There's we got the carpet ordered for our new spaces. We have all
That
the
sounds
light
exciting.
switches fixed in the fellowship hall. We went and double checked those today. The electrician had to come back
And they're all working.
fix one little thing, but we're there, and so we're just waiting to hear about the fellowship hall air conditioning, and we got new chairs in there.
We do have new chairs in the fellowship hall.
So
Those are nice.
I'm thinking to myself like by the time we get to summer, we've kind of done a little remodel job in the fellowship hall.
Yeah.
Carpeting, chairs, air conditioning. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a neat little project we've undertaken there. So
Yeah, that'll be kind of nice when that gets all complete. Then we'll start having like the fifth Sundays in there once again, and we'll all of those things
Speaking of fifth Sundays, we had one on the fourth Sunday,
on the fourth Sunday. Yes.
and I think we had close to 500 people in the sanctuary. Did you get a count at all? Do we know, Eric?
Well, I think I don't know. I think it was over 400 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a full, not a full house, but it was full.
That was nice to see. Yeah. yeah.
like close to Christmas Eve there. You had a full house in there. So no, not every seat was taken, but it was
Right.
really full.
And it's been nice to offer some of these because oftentimes when they are in the fellowship hall,
They will sell
That-
out
that-
in the first weekend.
that
The end.
ticket is hard to come by.
That's right. But I am starting a ticket exchange for once we get back in the fellowship hall, because I feel like I could, on the secondary market, make a lot of money reselling the cabaret tickets of those people who can't go, but they have tickets. So we're going to open a secondary market up and see what happens. No, I'm kidding. We're not.
Wow.
We're not scalping tickets here.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, heck, we get 220 in there, we're done. So,
Yeah, right.
we had twice that in the sanctuary, and we had a beautiful show too. It was celebrating the 10th anniversary of cabarets. And
Going 10 years.
yeah,
How about that?
how about that? So, were you here when they started the first one, or had they already been going?
I was here when they were just starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That goes backwards, and and to think that, I'm in my 6th year back here, so
Yeah.
it's really weird to think that even after 10 years, I've been a part of over half of them.
That is wild to think about,
Over
isn't
half,
it?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if it's 10 years and I've been here about 6, that's
Yeah,
that's
wild.
quite of an experience there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had some wonderful artists and some faces and some new folks and a lot of things. Just all really a good feel afternoon. And
Mm-hmm.
we also are getting ready for, believe it or not, we're already starting the planning for Holy Week and Easter. I mean, today we had meetings, and part of the meetings aren't just about what's coming up this week, which we did, but we started talking
You
about
gotta be looking forward.
Maundy Thursday, which is the New Commandment Thursday, when we celebrate communion and Jesus in the upper room, and then Good Friday with the choir, and then we even talked a little bit about Easter too, just making sure we had all of the things set up so we could do that. So we're getting closer and closer and closer, and I was just telling staff today, and you already know about this, but after this weekend, which I am preaching this weekend, by midweek next week, I'm off to Chicago for church council meetings.
Yep.
And it's the last church council meeting before the church-wide assembly in July, and it's
And
gonna
since you're on the council
yeah,
there,
and I'll be at church-wide assembly
you
too.
need to be there.
They even said the meetings will go longer this time because we're getting ready for a bishop election and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be. I don't think it'll be more intense. It'll just be more full. So,
Yeah, you've got a lot on the agenda.
Yep, and they've already been populating the meeting folder with, things to read and meeting minutes.
Ooh,
And,
so a little reading before
yeah, always.
for bedtime.
Yep.
These-
So I
yeah.
tend to do that since meetings begin on Thursday, and it's really just too hard to fly from Las Vegas to Chicago and then somehow go right into meetings, you know. So I usually go in the night before, or evening before, and that's the evening I will open up the computer and
Really brush up on the
Yeah.
latest Synod happenings.
just like my college career, I do all my cramming. My best cramming happens the night before, right? So
Study away.
Study
yes,
away.
pull an all-nighter there.
pull an all-nighter there at the Marriott,
Yes,
at
yes.
O'Hare, and make it happen. Actually, it's none of it's you get quizzed on. So as long as I read through it, then I'm
Read
I'm
through
up
it.
to date. So
Yeah, ready to go.
Nothing too crazy. And I was excited when you told me today that we had 15 students there at First Communion classes.
Yes. So last Sunday, had a great class. Had a few that even showed up at the last moment. So
That's great.
That was that was really, really cool. Be able to have that, and then they'll continue to meet, and then they'll have their first communion
Their first
coming
communion.
up on while you're gone.
Yes.
But then so that'll be really nice. We have that kind of in this season right before we head into Easter, because by the time you get back,
It's
we
Palm
are
Sunday.
We are stormed into Palm Sunday.
Yeah, we're entering into Holy Week, and but I just love that because what it tells me is, it's one of those, not the only, but it's one of the signs of life in a church when you have kids, students active in things. First Communion, Sunday school, youth group. When you have those, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. When you have activity and people show up and they're kids, you say, okay, the life of the church is there. Yeah, can you edit the sneeze out, by the way?
Wait, I'm confused. Was that a sneeze?
That was a sneeze.
Because I thought it was. I would have expected a cough out of that. Like,
It was somewhere in between the two.
because I would have completely have labeled that a cough.
It was a snoff. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all in the back of my sinuses that caused the thing that sounded like a cough. But it was
actually a sneeze.
It was a sneeze because it came through and tickled up there.
But it was a
Didn't know we were going to be judging me on
sneeze
my
that
sneezes
sounded
today.
like a cough.
We got that.
Very suspicious, Pastor.
Who cares about the life of the church if I'm going to cough, right?
Wow.
Or sneeze.
Wow.
But I'm excited when I see kids involved in stuff. And do
That
you
is
know?
good.
Do you know offhand? And I didn't ask this earlier, so I'm going to ask you. Did some of our church members go out and talk to our youth group about their fundraising for?
Yes. So there was a great turnout with people who were stopping by the youth there and
Great.
just checking in, and that was really, really
Good.
was fun to see. That was fun to see the energy there. That was all of that. That was
And we're going to
really
be doing
great.
that for a few weeks. So if you weren't here or you missed it or you were busy, we'll still have our youth group leaders out there for the next few
Yes.
weeks too.
So they'll be out there. We have some of the youth around. They're making sure they're just available so you can talk to them.
That's
about
great.
Everything going on. So
Good. That's fun. A lot of life in the church. And then don't forget, we want to invite you tomorrow to Lenten worship at noon.
that's right.
And so another opportunity to either be in person or be online. And we'll take another petition of the Lord's Prayer. Let me see. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. There we go.
You
That's
got
where
there.
we're headed.
Yes.
And
yes.
the only reason I had to go through that is I'm not the one speaking, so I wasn't already locked in up
Locked
here.
in
Like,
and-
what am
yeah,
I going to
we're-
talk about?
yes, yes.
So, yeah. So you ready for the song for the day?
I'm ready for the song of the day.
So we're going to go
Yes.
back to Sunday, and we're going to revisit the song that was the centerpiece of the message. We've been in this sermon series called "There Is a Time" or "There Is a Way," and within that, the music and songwriting talent of Keith Thompson. He has shared with us songs that he has written over the years, and the exciting part is we still have 2 more weekends left of Keith Thompson music. And so you still get an opportunity to hear a little bit more. So, but let's go back to Sunday and hear "This Is the Time."
There may come a time in your life when the things you believe to be true seem crazy to you, when all your conditions and your self-depiction seem wrong. Like this song. Your very foundation, the rock where you stand, turns out to be only a shack on the sand. You don't see it coming, then some random day, a cosmic tsunami just sucks it all away. There may come a time in your life when you find yourself out on your own, lost and alone, so sad and uncertain, you're grieving and hurting inside. Open wide. The rug right out from under you has been ripped. Your guard and defenses away have been stripped. You find yourself standing alone on a ledge. You suddenly feel yourself falling off the edge. There is a time for starting over. There is a time for letting go. A time when surrender is your only choice. A time to remember your heart has a voice. To listen inside for a guide. To wait for a sign. There is a time. Time to let go of the past. Live each day like it was your last. Hold on to the people you love. Let them know that you care. The memories and souvenirs, the laughter, the longing, the tears. You thought that the good times would go on forever. Then one day the thing that you thought would never come true, it happens to you. There may come a time in your life you depend upon others who will offer to fill the hole in your heart with some sweet human kindness and light. That's all right. Perhaps they already know right where you're at. Perhaps they've already been there and done that. They give and want nothing from you in return. And if you allow them to love you, maybe you learn. There is a time for new beginnings. There is a time to try again. The healing will happen and there may be scars, but don't try to hide them, cause that's who we are. Just open your heart, reach inside and embrace the divine. There is a time, and this is the time.
Isn't that great? Great
That's
song.
a great song. Yes, yes.
So as we said, Keith Thompson wrote it, and this is this week's song. This song is so chock full of biblical and Christian imagery and references.
It is. One
and,
thing after another.
you
Yeah.
know, all the music is great, and you kind of latch onto something, you talk about it. But this one, you could make a series just on this song
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just full of stuff. And, and I was like, I wish I had more time. Well, this is my more time here, right?
Yes.
To talk about those things. But
Indeed.
and so I hit some of the other things that we didn't get a chance to talk to and address. But I just want to be clear that from what I said the other day is if you're here in this moment, then there's time to start over. People think that there's not enough time, or I can't do that, or that's impossible, or whatever the reason is. But if you're here in the present moment, then God's going to allow that time to start over if you need to start over. And it sometimes means letting go of paradigms and ideas and thoughts that have locked you into this mentality that you can't possibly start over. And
we all need to. Like
are
everybody needs
times.
to just like let go of the past and be able to just
move forward.
move forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
looking
you
back.
you end up being stuck. And I think one of the images of that takes me all the way back to when I was associate pastor here is we did a sermon series on Joshua,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and to
I, think
get
I don't think I've ever seen a sermon series on Joshua.
well, I'll tell you
Yeah.
before I get to the point on this. There we built a stone altar.
Oh, so that's the stone altar.
Yes. And I actually ran
Yes,
across
I have heard of that.
I ran across a picture of it just the other day when I was looking for my picture of George Foreman.
Okay.
I ran across a picture of the stone altar. And
Wow.
so because in Joshua, every time something happened and it turned out well for the people of Israel, Joshua would stop, build a stone altar, and give thanks to God. Right?
Okay.
So Pastor Ray said, we have to build a stone altar.
Yes.
So with the help of Steve Ronchagan and a few others,
And I think Steve has said, like, it wasn't just like here's your 6-week lead up time to build this stone altar.
yeah,
He's stated it happened kind of like, I need a stone altar. I need
this
it by
weekend.
Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was one of Ray's ideas. And so he built this thing, and we used lava rock, which
Yeah.
when you're outside and lava rock are about the size or smaller than your fist, lava rock's pretty light. But by the time you get to pieces of lava rock this big,
And it's sharp, too.
And it's sharp.
Like, it can.
that once the altar was in
damage.
place, it was probably about 600 or 700 pounds. And therefore, the rock altar did not move for the entire sermon series because it could not move. And then we had to try to disassemble it up in the sanctuary just to get it light enough so we could get it off stage and then out the side doors. And we had a set of side doors. So if you remember our current sanctuary, you walk in from the crossroads and you look right to the front.
Yes.
Well, in the old days, you walk through those doors and you had to turn left, and facing our main parking lot was the front of the
okay.
sanctuary. But we had a set of double doors, where off to the, probably where the baptismal font normally lives today.
Okay.
Between the we have a loading dock back there, but that kind of sits over there. We had a set of double doors there that went out to the parking lot on the side.
Okay.
And that's where we had to move that thing in and out of. And I still remember trying to wrestle that thing out the door once it was the sermon series was over.
But not a light altar.
It was not. It was not altar light. It was altar heavy.
Altar heavy.
Yeah. So anyway, so in the book of Joshua, one of the things that Pastor Ray said is, remember how they got here was it wasn't like they went straight from Egypt into the promised land, that instead they didn't trust that God would lead them, so they went out back into the wilderness and did laps for 40 years, until a new generation came in. And, and I think to myself, there are times that we do laps out in the wilderness when we don't take time to start over. And, God was offering them that new opportunity to move into the promised land. They've been exiled and in slavery for 400 years. This is your new opportunity. They did not take it. And God said, fine, I'll give it to the next generation of Israelites. And so they went out and did laps in the desert. And I think sometimes when we don't say, you know what, I got to let go of stuff, we're doing the same thing. We're living in fear and staying out in the wilderness when we could move into the promised land.
Yes.
I know that was a long explanation.
But it
to get
is.
there,
But no, that is the central course of that narrative. We it could have gone straight to that promised land, but they didn't have the faith. They didn't have they weren't ready for that.
They weren't ready for that.
And so you wind up spending time in the wilderness, and that is a very human story that
It is.
we're stuck out there.
Faith or fear.
Yeah.
And they chose fear, and they should have chosen that faith, not as a judgment thing, but life would have been way different, right? And then I think about I'm going to read some of the lines from the song that we actually didn't really get to touch on. This one I read, but I want to go to a different place with this. Your very foundation, the rock where you stand, turns out to only be a shack in the sand. You didn't see it coming. Then one random day, a cosmic tsunami just sucks it all away. And, there are those moments when life just changes. I mean, we have national moments like that. 9/11
Right.
here in town, 1 October. We have those moments where life is now different. We have those individual ones as well. And but all of that imagery that Keith Thompson uses go right to the summation of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus preaches this tremendous sermon, and this is his conclusion to that sermon. He says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise person who built his house on the rock. The rains came, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundations on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like the foolish person who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." Now, the two scenarios share a common theme. They both have houses, and the storms came to both of those
Storms
houses.
come. Storms come.
I think that's the thing we got to keep in mind is it's not like, oh, the guy who built his house on the rock, well, it always was sunny and 75 like San Diego, right? Like it was, you know, that's not what he says. He's like, the storms are going to come no matter what. It's about where your foundation is.
Yeah.
And sometimes we put our trust in things that don't last, just to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And we have false sense of security. We think we're fine, and then we're not.
Right. Right. Well, and as the song mentions, like you think you built it on that rock, and you have all that confidence, but at the same time, you realize, oh, this was all just a shack on the sand.
A shack on the sand, which sounds like another Keith Thompson song in the making.
It does, doesn't
a
it?
shack in the sand.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing is like where are we going to put our where are we going to build, right? Well, I mean that's that foundation, and it's not about stuff. I mean that's the other thing. It's never about stuff. It's about the relationships we cultivate, and the relationships that we have with one another, our relationship with God. Those are the most important things. And if we're willing to build there, that's where we will find security. You know, money comes and goes. You know, possessions come and go. A lot of life is transitory. You're just passing through it.
Yeah.
And the things that are built to last into eternity, you know, talk about storing your treasures in heaven. That's always about relationships. It's never about
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
And so you go through a hard time, but if you've been building on a foundation, guess what you're going to have there for you is you're always going to have those relationships to help pull you through. And I think that is something that we need to keep in mind. Now here's another line that I really wanted to talk about, but I didn't have a chance to. And this is a line from the song. There may come a time in your life you depend upon others who will offer to fill that hole in your heart with some sweet human kindness and light. That's all right. Perhaps they already know right where you're at, and perhaps they've already been there and done that. So, you know, you've life has thrown you a curveball. The wheels have come off. You're stuck. If you've invested in relationship, somebody's going to stop and help you out. Somebody you know, someone who cares. And that's a part of that journey of building on the right things. And you know, it's like that's the thing you want is when life has gone sideways, you want to know, does anybody care? And so Keith talks about that in the song, but it also just harkens over to Galatians chapter 6 that reminds us what it's about.
Yeah. Another powerful passage. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ.
So that's that reminder is that when we have seen folks in need, we don't necessarily think, wow, this is what Jesus wants me to do. If this is pretty deep inside of us, we just kind of jump in, right? We just want to check on somebody. We want to help somebody. And one of those examples for me is last spring, we did a clothing drive for Robert Taylor Elementary
right.
in Old
That's right.
Henderson.
Yeah.
We're right on the edge of Old Henderson off of Boulder Highway. And you know, we put out the word for 3 weeks, and we had a tremendous response from our church family.
Yeah, I forgot about that
Yeah.
drive. But that was really cool.
Yeah, and even some of our sorters and organizers said, let's not do that again for a while. Because there was so much. I mean, they were happy, but at the same time, there was so much work getting things sorted by size
Wow.
and all of that. That male, girl, boy, all that. I mean, it was a lot. But when we carry each other's burdens, you just jump in, and you want to make a difference, and you want to help. And by the way, that whole "you will fulfill the law of Christ." He's just using language that says, pointing to Jesus said, "Love one another as I have loved you." Right. You will know that you belong to me by your love, I mean, all of that new commandment stuff. And so when we jump in to help somebody else, if you've been in a place, I mean, it says, perhaps they already know right where you're at. Perhaps they've already been there and done that. A lot of people, when they've gone through something and they've come out on the other side, what do they want to do? Is they want to help other people who are going through it, the same thing. Whether it's a loss of a loved one or somebody who has been through a traumatic experience, so that then they pay it forward by saying, you know what, I've been through that. Let me help you now that you're going through it. And that's part of that stepping up. And often any experience, although it was painful and it was terrible, after you've been through it, you say, but I can help somebody else go through that now.
And that is such an essential part, and I
Yeah.
think it's important. It's worth reflecting on it because, our experiences and what we can share, or just the empathy we can bring to a situation.
That's right.
All of that matters.
Yep. And I mean, even in the past few days, now I'm not going to talk about specifics. I've had some conversations with folks who are really going through it right now, and to be able to lend a helping hand, a shoulder to cry on, somebody to listen, and even give help point those folks in a new direction is just kind of what you do. And they know, I guess, when people call here, whether you're talking to them or I'm talking to them, or even Susan who does that, they call here because they know someone cares.
Yep.
And I think that is huge. So that's just a reminder to us to not always be about me, myself, and I, right?
Yeah.
Is that when somebody else is in need, you want to jump in and help them as well. Now, finally, here's a great line. This is part of the chorus, but it's near the end here. So there is a time for new beginnings. There is a time to try again. The healing will happen, and there may be scars, but don't try to hide them, because that's who you are. So open your heart, reach inside, and embrace the divine. If there's a time, then this is the time. And I always think that's so true, is when you think about the scars of life. Maybe not physically. I mean, we all have physical scars. I know I do, from this, that, and the other thing. But when I think about life experiences, all of it cumulatively makes up who we are. The good and the bad makes up who we are today. Mm-hmm. And I like that affirmation of you don't have to hide the scars of your past or pretend that they weren't there, but embrace all of what you've been through in life, because that has made you the person you are. Even the unwelcome stuff, even though the bad stuff in your life, it still formed you and shaped you. It is who you are.
And that matters.
And it's okay to embrace that. And I think in a lot of ways, when you get to heaven one day, I think at the same time, those scars will still be there. They may not have the spiritual or emotional power they used to have in your life, but those scars still make up who you are, even when you get to heaven. I mean, in a lot of ways, Christ has the scars of the cross.
They have new meaning now, though.
They have new meaning. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true for us, is we will have those same things. They just won't have power over us in that new life in the kingdom of God. Now, Paul writes this in Romans 8. So you know this one because we've shared this one a lot. And we know that in all things, not some things, not a few things, not just the good things, all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. In other words, God can use even the garbage in your life and in my life and the bad things we've gone through. God can even use those for good down the road. They will shape you.
Yeah, and they are being used for good.
Yep.
Good is coming, and we can't always see it in the moment.
That's right.
But God is working this for good.
And God works in that. And God didn't cause it, but God says, I certainly can take an ugly moment and make it beautiful down the road. He took the ugliness of the cross and turned it into the resurrection, right? That is how this works in our lives in the same way it worked in Jesus' life. So that's just that reminder of you don't have to hide where you've been or pretend you had a perfect past. We all have our stories. And know that God can use them for good, and you can use them to help others too in the future. So anyways, we're glad that you took some time with us today. We hope that you are having an enjoyable day. It's beautiful outside.
Beautiful days.
Yeah.
Getting a little warm.
Absolutely. We're moving towards what we call, or at least I call it, Nevada winter, when you stay inside all the time. So it's coming. This is just a flavor of that. So anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. We hope you can join us tomorrow for Wednesday Lenten worship right at noon. It'll be online too. And no, we're not cutting to any music because Philip Fortenberry's gone for the week.
He is gone.
Yeah.
But
even piano players need a little time off once in a while.
Once in a while.
So
Yes.
so he is down in the homeland.
Good for him.
The homeland of Mississippi. So I actually texted with him this morning. So
Okay.
yeah. So all is well in Mississippi. So,
All's well in Mississippi.
so anyways, we love you.
Wonderful.
Take care. God bless and have a great day.